Welcome back, everybody. I pray you're having a blessed day. Today, I want to talk about something that has been on my mind for a while now. It's something that shows up in how we think about money, how we make decisions, and honestly, how we see God's provision in our lives. And that's the psychology of abundance. You see, a lot of people pray for abundance, but if we're being real, they're still operating from a sense of scarcity. They're asking for more money, more opportunities, more success, but deep down, they're afraid that there's not enough time, not enough resources, not enough luck, not enough help. And that fear, that scarcity mindset, quickly controls how they spend, how they save, and even more how they give. Today, I want to break that down. We're going to talk about what scarcity mindset looks like, how abundance actually begins with stewardship, and how to practically start living from a place of peace, purpose, and trust, even before your income grows. So let's jump in. Hi, my name is Prince Chenou. I'm a certified financial planner candidate working in private banking and financial planning. And my passion is to help faith-driven professionals and families to align their money with their mission. My goal is just to teach financial strategy. It's to help you see money through the lenses of stewardship, purpose, and peace. Everything we talk about on this channel is about combining biblical principles, practical wisdom, and more wealth building tools to create a life of impact and not just income. So if that's something that you value, you're in the right place. The scarcity mindset is subtle. It's not about being broke or having less. It's about thinking small when it comes to what's possible. It says things like, if they win, then that means I lose. I'll give when I have more. I can't take a break. What if I fall behind? And it's the constant pressure to chase, hustle, and hold on tight because you're afraid that if you let go, it'll all disappear. The problem is scarcity never ends. You can be making $40,000 a year or $400,000 a year. If your heart still believes there's not enough, then you'll always feel like you're behind. Scarcity turns money into a master instead of a tool. It whispers in your ear that your worth is tied up in your wealth. And if you slow down or rest, you're being irresponsible. But that's not the life that God calls us to live. In Matthew 6:26, Jesus says, look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. If God can take care of them, how much will He take care of you? Scarcity thrives in comparison. You see someone online buying a house, taking trips, launching a business, and suddenly you feel like you're behind, like you've missed your moment. That's not abundance. That's insecurity dressed up as a motivation. When you're afraid, you grip tighter. You stop breathing. You stop giving. And you stop being generous. You tell yourself you're being smart with your money, but often it's fear with a budget. Now, don't get me wrong. There's wisdom in saving and preparing. The scarcity mindset always says, what if I run out? The stewardship mindset says, how can I use what I have well? Now, moving to a mindset of abundance isn't about ignoring reality or pretending money doesn't exist. It's about changing the relationship that you have with money. Stewardship is the belief that everything that we have was entrusted to us, not to be hoarded, but to be managed for wisdom and purpose. That includes your money, your time, your relationships, and your opportunities. When you see yourself as a steward, you stop asking, how much do I have? And you start to ask, what am I doing with what I have? Let me walk you through 3 powerful shifts that can help you move from scarcity to stewardship. 1, from changing your mindset from ownership to management. When you think of everything belongs to you, every loss feels personal, like failure. But when you realize you're managing something bigger than yourself, you stop panicking and start planning. That changes how you handle money. You start budgeting with purpose, not pressure. You invest for legacy, not just for lifestyle. And you start giving, not because you have extra, but because you understand you're part of a flow of provision. God doesn't just bless us to raise our standards of living. He blesses us to raise our standard of giving. 2, changing your mindset from fear to faith. Scarcity reacts to lack. Stewardship responds to faith. Faith says, even when I can't see it, I still sow. It's trusting that doing the right thing, tithing, saving, and investing wisely will bear fruit, even if the results aren't instant. It's like planting seeds. You don't dig them up the next day to see if they're growing. You water them, you trust the process, and you wait. When you're rooted in faith, your peace doesn't depend on your paycheck. 3, from short-term thinking to long-term vision. Scarcity focuses on the immediate. How do I make it through this week? Stewardship looks ahead. How can I build something that outlives me? That's legacy thinking. It's not about buying the next shiny thing. It's about aligning your spending, your saving, your giving with your values and calling. When you're thinking long term, you make decisions today that your future self and your future family will thank you for. Now, studies in behavioral psychology show that scarcity literally changes how we think. When people feel like they don't have enough, whether it's time, money, or energy, their brain goes into a tunnel vision. They focus only on short term survival and lose the ability to think creatively or strategically. That's why when you stress about money, it's hard to dream, plan, or even pray with confidence. But when you begin to operate from abundance, when you believe that you have what you need, your brain shifts into a more expansive mode. You see options, not obstacles. You start to attract solutions, connections, and clarity because your focus changes from surviving to stewarding. Faith and psychology actually aligned here. Both shows that what you believe about your resources shape how you use them. So now let's talk about some practical steps. Here are a few ways to live this out day to day. Start with gratitude. Gratitude is the seed of abundance. Every morning, list three things that you're thankful for. Not any big wins, but just simple things: health, opportunity, breath. Gratitude trains your mind to focus on what's present instead of what's missing. Next, I would say track, don't obsess. Scarcity either ignores money or obsess over it. Abundance tracks it with clarity and calm. Know where your money's going, but don't let it consume your peace. Think of your budget as a reflection of your values, not a list of limits. Next, I would say is to give regularly. Even if it's a small amount of giving breaks the grip of fear. It reminds your heart that money is a tool, not a master. When you give, you tell scarcity, you don't control me. And generosity always multiply. Maybe not immediately in your bank account, but in your mindset, peace, and influence. Next, I would say is to build margin. Abundance grows when there's margin. Create space in your schedule, your finance, and your emotions. You can't receive new blessings if you're already filled to capacity with worry and busyness. Margin is where you breathe, hear God clearly, and make wise decisions. Next, I would say is to speak life. Watch your language. If you're consistently saying, I'm broke, I can't afford that, or I'll never catch up, you're reinforcing scarcity. Start saying things like, I'm managing my resources wisely. I'm trusting God's timing. I'm growing in wisdom and stewardship. Words shape belief, and belief shape behavior. Now, in closing, true abundance isn't about how much you have, it's about how much peace you carry with what you have. Stewardship is the foundation of real wealth because it invites God into every decision. It says, Lord, this isn't mine, it's yours. Show me how you will want me to handle it. When you start living from that place, you realize something powerful. You were never chasing abundance. Abundance was chasing you. Because abundance isn't about numbers. It's a posture of your heart. It's trusting that you have enough. You are enough. And you always have what you need to fulfill your purpose. Not because of your luck or your timing, but because of your alignment. When you manage what you have well, God can trust you with more. That's stewardship. And that's abundance. Thank you, everybody. And I pray you all have a blessed day.